In this episode of EFT Tapping Junction, along with a special posting to the Energy Healing Podcast, you're going to meet licensed therapist Erika Neal. Erika will share with us how she uses a marvelous method called havening. You're going to learn the basics of how to do havening, and you're going to experience havening for yourself. Stephen Carter here, CEO for Stress Solutions, LLC. If you use emotional freedom techniques or other forms of tapping for self-care or to help clients, this show is for you. EFT Tapping Junction is a meeting place for all energy healing and tapping practitioners. This podcast episode is the audio portion of a video conversation I had with Erika Neal about havening. You'll learn exactly what havening is, and you can experience the effects of havening for yourself. If you want to see the video version, you'll find the YouTube link available in this episode's show notes, or you can visit Erika's website at erikaneal.com, and that's ErikaNeal, erikaneal.com. In our conversation, Erika shares how she uses havening in combination with emotional freedom techniques and other energy psychology and somatic methods to help clients with PTSD, anxiety, panic, and many other issues. In addition to extensive education in traditional social work, Erika has specialized training in trauma treatment, managing stress and difficult emotions, and something near and dear to my heart, strengthening positive emotional states. Along with being a havening instructor, she is trained in emotional freedom techniques, EMDR, mindfulness-based stress reduction, Reiki, somatic experiencing, and an array of other complementary and alternative methods. For more information about my company, Stress Solutions, LLC, and to listen to previous episodes of EFT Tapping Junction, visit our website at eft-md.com. You can also subscribe or follow the podcast on our site, or you can subscribe or follow EFT Tapping Junction and Energy Healing Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. With no further delay, let's join my conversation with licensed social worker Erika Neal. Erika, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you.
Let's dive right in. What is havening?
Okay, so havening is a psychosensory technique, meaning that it uses sensory input to create healing in physicality and emotions. And it uses primarily soothing touch and eye movement in order to do that. And havening treats PTSD and anxiety and panic and other amygdala-based disorders.
If I'm showing up for a session with you, how am I going to benefit?
You'll feel less distressed about whatever issue it is that brought you in to see me in the first place. And you'll feel more of a sense of well-being and resilience in general.
Can I learn this? Is there havening or self-havening? Can I do that for myself? And if so, how do I learn to do that?
Yes, yeah, you can do self-havening very easily. I'll demonstrate it now, actually. Self-havening consists of 3 locations of touch that have been shown to have the most delta wave production of any location in the body. And those 3 locations of touch are the hands, the palms rubbed together. And you just can do that like that, or you can do it sideways if you like, or you can rub it like this if you want. So that's the hands, and just whatever pace feels comfortable to you. Generally, if you can slow it down a bit, it's good. The next one is from the shoulders to the elbows and a downward sweep, like you're brushing your arms down. And that could be like a very nurturing, supportive touch. And at whatever pace you feel is right for you, kind of a reassuring touch. And then the last location is the face, and it could be like you're washing your face. So it could be your whole face, or if you don't want to touch your whole face, it could just be under your eyes or even your forehead or even like that. Whatever feels soothing and reassuring to you. With self-havening, we just rotate between these three locations as long as they're comfortable for you. And then also what we do is eye movement, where we move our eyes back and forth from right to left or left to right, just picking a point to the left and to the right and just moving the eyes back and forth several times and then taking a deep breath. So usually we do the sequence of the touch and then we follow it with the eye movement and a breath. But you can actually put the eye movement anywhere in between the touch if you'd like.
It's very soothing. I noticed as I was going through the touch points.
Yeah.
What is actually going on in the brain and in our bodies as we're doing this work?
The havening touch and eye movement create delta waves, and that is the most soothing brainwave we experience as human beings. It's what happens during sleep, during non-deep sleep, also when we're consolidating learning and integrating meaning of things. When you have slow wave, like the delta waves, it actually changes the way we store distressing experiences from being really disturbing and threatening to feeling safe. And the whole mechanism behind havening is that we're creating a feeling of safety amidst experiences that previously felt inescapably unsafe.
How do people get in touch with you, by the way, if they want to schedule a session? How do they do that?
The best way is to look on my website, which is www.erikaneal.com. It's spelled ERIKANEIL. You can contact me through that. My email is there too. It's erika@erikaneal.com.
I'm a client and I've called you up and we have a session. Now, do you do sessions by Zoom or by video as well as in person?
Well, right now I'm still doing them by Zoom. Ultimately, I'll do them in person as well. Yeah.
We are hopefully near the point of putting COVID in the rearview mirror. So hopefully that will be the case here very, very soon.
Yeah.
Yes.
And actually, it's a good point. So when I do sessions on Zoom, I have people do self-havening, and I usually mirror it or do havening myself while they're havening. But when I do it in person, a lot of the time, I'll actually do havening on the person. So I'll be actually touching their arms and their hands and their face. Oftentimes what we do is we sit side to side like ships passing in the night. So I'm reaching over so that the person doesn't feel trapped. And it's very similar. It's just that I'm doing it on the other person so that they feel they can just relax and receive the havening. Also, clients can always do the havening on themselves if they feel more comfortable doing that.
So that's up to them. That's their choice.
Exactly. Right. I show them both ways.
What kind of conditions or situations are really, really helped with the havening technique?
I find that they're most helpful with situations where the person feels fear and is scared. And so that kind of applies to all kinds of panic and anxiety and phobias. It's great with treating PTSD because it really soothes the amygdala and makes the person feel like they have some mastery over the situation. It can also actually help with depression and grief because in those situations too, there's usually distress about the feeling. In fact, most of the reasons why people come to see me is because they're upset about the fact that they're feeling something difficult. So havening is great with all of those issues because it soothes the mind and to feel more relaxed and safe to be feeling anything.
Can you give us a couple of examples, client cases, one or two, where havening has really been helpful for them?
Yeah, I had one client who was afraid of driving and being a passenger in a car after she had been thrown from a horse. Somehow they correlated together. So it was a situation where she had been on a bigger horse than she had expected to be, and she was unexpectedly thrown, and it took a long time for the paramedics to come, and she was quite traumatized by it. So we healed that incident, and after that, she actually was fine with driving. She was no longer afraid of it. I had another client who actually was afraid of her kids getting sick and herself getting sick. It was actually about getting nauseous and throwing up. That was what she was afraid of. And we traced that back to some early incidents when she was a child that were correlated with some things that were disturbing. And she got over that, and then she was no longer afraid of that. I've had a few that have dealt with reactions to drugs. One client had an edible and got high and then had a very bad trip. And then after that, every time he ate, he had a fear that there was marijuana in his food. So it became a phobia. And we worked on that to heal the initial incidents and subsequent ones so that he no longer had that phobia anymore.
Very interesting cases.
Yeah.
You have learned an array of different holistic methods in addition to, well, we could say traditional therapy as you studied during your certification and master's work. Can havening be used with other techniques such as emotional freedom techniques or other holistic methods? Can we combine those, or would you just use one and not the other?
They can be incorporated. Tapping or emotional freedom technique actually is quite similar in that tapping does actually produce delta waves. Sometimes I have clients who actually prefer to tap. I always teach havening in its pure form, which is the stroking, but I have some clients who maybe they've been sexually abused or there's something about soothing touch that actually feels a little bit uncomfortable, and sometimes they'll tap. Or else they might imagine that they're tapping. If they don't have access to their hands, they can sense tapping more in their imagination than havening touch. So sometimes I'll use that too. And I personally use tapping sometimes instead of the touch. I incorporate a lot of somatic experiencing and sensory motor psychotherapy into my havening sessions because in addition to doing havening touch, we also do things called outcome havening where we have people imagine things going in a certain way. For example, imagining that they were able to flee or that they're able to fight. And you might imagine them actually feeling that in their bodies and feeling the tension releasing. So there's a lot of embodiment work in havening. A lot of people that do havening are also body workers like Reiki practitioners. So I'll incorporate that too. Havening.
How do you decide which modality is going to be the best for a given client?
Yeah, actually, I do EMDR also. I actually, to be honest with you, I usually teach clients all of them. I teach them and explain to them havening, EMDR, and tapping. And I find out with them which seems to be the most useful to them. And sometimes we'll try different ones at different times. I tend to use havening mostly when it seems like safety is the problem, that something's really scaring them. That's when I tend to use havening. If I want to clear something quickly, I might show them EFT, like faster EFT. I often will show them that. And if the problem has to do with viewing events more objectively from a distance, I might use EMDR. That's generally how I do it. But I do like to teach everybody the choices.
It sounds like for sure that these can be integrated very, very nicely depending on the preferences of someone in a given session to combine and use 2, 3, or perhaps even more methods. But havening, it sounds like, is your anchor for most of your work. Would that be right?
That's true. At this point it is, because I find it to be the most universally helpful.
As I read through your bio, I discovered you went to Harvard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then you went to Columbia University Law School.
Yep.
Did you practice law?
I did. I did child abuse law in Washington, D.C.
Okay. And then you went to Catholic University for social work. What made you decide to transition from law to social work?
I was interested in a couple of issues. I wanted to help prevent child abuse, and I also wanted to work with people on the emotional effects of child abuse and neglect. And so I got the master's in social work because it gave me the option of doing those two types of work.
Are you still doing legal work in addition to, okay.
No, yeah, just squarely doing clinical work at this point.
That is quite a journey, all the way from the hallowed halls of Harvard, all the way to Catholic University and beyond. So quite a journey.
Yeah, you have a lot of energy when you're young to do a lot of different things. It's harder.
Yes.
As you get older. It's true.
You are a trainer or teacher.
Yes.
For havening.
Yes.
If people want to learn about learning, if they want to learn how to develop their skills with havening, how can they do that?
Well, I offer 2-day havening practitioner certification trainings. The next one's in July, and then there'll be ones in future months that I haven't scheduled yet. Currently, they're being done online, but ultimately I will do them in person. And then also periodically, I offer introduction to havening classes that are about an hour and a half to introduce people to the basic principles about havening and how to do a couple of forms of havening, because there's actually a lot of different forms of havening. There's like at least 8 of them. I normally teach people the basic practice. One thing I had mentioned is when we do havening, a lot of times we do distractions. to keep the mind occupied so that it's not preoccupied with something distressing. So we'll pick soothing distractions for the people to notice, like imagining they're rowing a boat on a beautiful river, or that they're seeing clouds form words that they like and they're spelling them, just kind of distractions to keep their mind busy. That's a key part of havening. So in the introduction class, I teach basic practice of havening to get people to have a flavor of it, to see if they like it.
And you are offering this as we record this. Your next session training would be July of 2021, but you are planning to provide training, offer training ongoing for a reasonable period of time in the future. For people, if it's past July, as people are listening to this or watching it, would they be best served to go to your website so that they can see what is upcoming?
Yes, that's the best place to find it, the www.erikaneal.com.
ErikaNeal.com. And can you spell that for us again?
Sure. It's ErikaNeal.
Erika, any final thoughts before we ring off?
I want to, say that havening is probably the safest, most efficient, and permanently effective method I've encountered, and I've learned a lot of different ones, and that I found it not only helpful to my clients, but also to myself, and that being able to do it all day as a practitioner is very helpful to me too. I get to do this all day and be flooded with delta waves and nice outcomes. So it's very rewarding to be doing havening.
It sounds like a great experience, not only for the clients, but for you who are providing those moments of soothing and peace for your clients. And you get to partake in those moments as well.
Yes.
So that is wonderful. Erika, thank you. Thank you for sharing this great information about havening and so much more. And to those watching, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, for those listening in the podcast version of our conversation. Until our next visit, blessings and abundance to you and your loved ones. Namaste.